I didn't have too many Jewish friends growing up, but I learned about bar mitzvahs and moils and general Jewish culture from watching Seinfeld. The movie The Social Network taught pretty much everybody that Mark Zuckerberg is an insecure jerk. And I had several friends who asked for conflict-free engagement rings after watching Leo fight for the cause, Oscar or not, in his movie Blood Diamond. And that's the power of Hollywood. It's inspired storytelling, it's social influence. And for once, thanks to Alice in Arabia and who knows what, it's something that we don't have to convince our community so much that we need to be a part of. And so if that's the case, the question is, well then why aren't there more of us in Hollywood? And I figured, instead of us, doing a little discussion or whatever, let's figure out, let's be proactive, let's be the filmmakers, the magic makers. Let's make a movie, yeah? So I figured the way we could do that is let's come up with a concept. Think of a movie's logline. 3 groomsmen who can't remember their drunken misadventures have to find the groom before the wedding day. Or a Roman general betrayed by a corrupt prince becomes a gladiator to exact his revenge. So similarly, think of a movie that we want to show the world. What kind of story do we want to have? Who, for instance, who can be the face of this? Who would be the hero? Hijabi. Okay, hijabi girl, okay? And what does she want to do in life? Get married. Okay. All right, no, we got, I'm going to go with that one, that she wants to play sports. Okay, and then what's the problem? What's the end? Who's the villain? Ultramarathon. Nah. Pamela Geller. Okay. Oh, that was loud. Okay, so I get what we're going for here. So we got a hijabi girl struggles against prejudice and tries to retain her faith while trying to fulfill her dream of playing in the NCAA. Right? Compelling concept. If made well, it can really change some opinions or at least get us out there. So okay, that's great. Now the next step we have to do, we have a concept, is we have to take it to the powers that be. We need to get it green lit. So okay, did anybody hear, are there any studio executives here who can greenlight our film? Oh, well look at that, it's studio executive Jeff. Lena, darling, what kind of movie is that you're bringing me? You're bringing me this religious business, a Muslim person, you're gonna drive away our audiences and that's the most important thing. And I'm gonna say, Jeff, if you make a movie well, everybody will come, right? That's what filmmakers believe. The Coen brothers made A Serious Man, and that had all kind of Jewish stuff in it, and that worked. Lena, honey, sugar, you become a Coen brother, you do whatever you want. Until then, I need to make the revenue. How about this? Who's gonna headline? It can't be a white girl, too much backlash from the South. Okay, and then we gotta go minority. Not too many minority actresses can fill a theater. Mila Kunis could maybe go ethnic, Lebanese, right? Then again, who's going to go to a theater to see Mila Kunis all covered up? I'm sorry, you're not going to get more than $100,000 for this. Jeff, $100,000? Our community here, they want to break into Hollywood. They need high production value. If we want, let's say, a big actor in the supporting role, we're going to have to give him a Schedule F, and that's at least $65,000. Lena, kid, what are you telling me? You're bringing me a movie that's PG? It's got no love scenes? You don't even have much language? What is this? The market share is in PG-13. What is this, Dr. Dolittle? Okay, I tell you what. You put in some racy visuals, something that I can put Heather Graham in, Minka Kelly, not covered, and then we'll give you some more money. Oh, Jeff, we don't really want to go that route for this. And I'm telling you, if we make a good story, people will come. There are examples of that. Lena, kid, listen to me. That may be. But I can't take this chance and not on a first-time director. You do what other people do, go out to your friends, whatever, make the movie. If I like it, I'll take it, put my name all over it, show it to the world. Until then, get out of my office. And that's what we're at. It's kind of depressing. I guess it's not surprising, though. This is pretty much the situation of most filmmakers I know, especially in the Muslim community. So then, we have the story, but we still want to break in. What do we do? Well, okay, now we start the guesswork. Method number 1. We just have to have genius filmmakers. If you're the Coen brothers, or let's say Chris Nolan, who makes a movie for $6,000 and in a highly unconventional route somehow gets a $5 million deal the next time, then yes, who cares what Jeff says? But Christopher Nolan is an exception. So what we have to do, there's a problem here in that everybody should aspire to be Chris Nolan and that talent, and that is possible. But a problem we have in our community is that we have this idea where we're okay with Muslim good. It's kind of like with our halal restaurants. Muslim good is okay. With our Muslim filmmakers, if it's Muslim good, it might not hold much water for the rest of the world, but we're so excited. We go on Twitter, BuzzFeed, Facebook, oh, we're so happy, right? And that's fine, we should be supportive and we can be entertained. Are you not entertained? Right? But we have to make sure that in that process, we're figuring out a way to simultaneously push our serious filmmakers to seriously up their game. Because it's one step in the right direction that finally some of our parents are allowing kids to go into this career, but it's not getting us all the way there until we emphasize as a community that this is not just a hobby. It's not something where you can't convince your kid to become a doctor, so, oh my God, I lost him to the art world. This is an art, and it's a profession, and it's a business. And we need to stress that our young filmmakers are honing themselves in all of those areas and fighting with the same determination as if they were trying to be the foremost neurosurgeon. Because that's how competitive this industry is. That's what it takes to get there. Which brings us to number 2, which is what I mentioned. And that, yes, we know Christopher Nolan's a bit of an exception. He's a genius. He's great, isn't he? And unless we want Muslims in Hollywood to also be an exception, we have to figure out, well, how does everybody else get there? If you look at the majority of films in the theaters right now, the majority of the directors who got there started out a way that you could guess. They started out making independent films. Indie movies, those little indie movies that we like to make fun of. Oh, they're so quirky, right? But the thing is, we have to realize as a community that our directors are never going to be directing Chris Hemsworth or whoever else that you want unless we support them to help them prove themselves in those independent, often very good movies. And so that's where we are right now, where we have to figure out there's an entry point. So how does that work? Okay, if you look at the screen that is coming, Spike Lee, for instance, before he was able to make Malcolm X, which everybody loves, he made a small movie, his first one, called She's Gotta Have It. And the way he financed it is he literally went out to his community, his friends and his family. He said, believe in me and my power to change the African-American narrative. Or, for instance, Rian Johnson. He made the movie Looper. Looper with Bruce Willis and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And before he made that movie, he made a small movie called Brick. And he literally went to everybody he knew, private financiers, and he said, please, please, please give me $400,000. And a pretty good example for our community is, because their community has done this so well, is Boys Don't Cry, one of the more influential movies of the gay and lesbian movement. And that movie was partially funded by a grant from the gay and lesbian community. And so there's a trend here of how minorities break into Hollywood. But it's not just how you break in anymore, sometimes it's how you stay in. So if you look at movies like The Butler, they had a seasoned filmmaker helming it. But what they had to do was they literally had to go to dozens and dozens of really wealthy African Americans, many who were not in the entertainment business, and say, believe in this project. And so the question again is, why is our community not doing that? Other communities who have broken in have film foundations, grants, private financiers who will fund not only religious institutions and relief, which is very needed, but movies too. I know at least a dozen filmmakers, and that's why I mentioned that, who have made LGBT issue films, and their films were funded entirely by donations from the LGBT community. And I hear from people when we're trying to raise our money for our film that, you know what, film, art, it's not really a philanthropic interest for me. And that's fine. I stress to filmmakers that you have no right to anybody else's hard-earned money. But what I'm trying to say to us as a community is that maybe part of this is the reason that the image of gays and lesbians in the media in the past 20 years has so profoundly changed. And yet everybody still hates Muslims. And this is what's happening. We've been doing pretty good with our film so far. I have an upcoming film called The Tiger Hunter. It's a dramatic comedy. We're filming this summer. But even then, we do have a small amount left. We have pretty big name actors who want to be part of our project, but we can't seem to raise the money to sign them. You can see that it's a struggle. In that amount of time, I could have made 2 or 3 movies. And then I wouldn't have been a first-time filmmaker, and then maybe Jeff here would have been nicer to me. Which brings us to that third category. And it's not so much a process as a quality. Filmmakers, everybody knows, they're dreamers, right? Wide-eyed dreamers. And they're crazy. And that's what you need to do. My mom said, you are crazy to try this, nobody's ever gonna give you money. And we go to crazy routes to try to get the actors we want, the locations, to make an expensive film on a relatively low budget. And that's what filmmakers do. But what I'm trying to stress is that as a community, if we as a community want to get more of us in Hollywood, the community has to get a little bit of that crazy too. Because one of the biggest reasons I think we're not in Hollywood is that we're all pragmatists, we're doctors, we're lawyers, and we are incredibly risk averse. And films are high risk, high reward. They're very risky. At some point, there's nothing you can do to take away that risk. So you can get a cash cow like Johnny Depp, put him in a huge Disney movie, big production budget, big marketing budget, and you can still lose $100 million. And that's Hollywood. That's what we've all signed up for. It's half business and it's half insanity. And I cannot guarantee you that the filmmakers you finance or the films that you help donate to will be successful, not all of them. And parents, I'm sorry, I encourage you, but I can't guarantee that your kid who goes into film won't utterly fail. I mean, hopefully he'll get his reward from God. But that's not a guarantee I can make. But I do know that this is an industry, like a lot of places that we haven't broken into, politics, for example, where unless we take those huge risks, those leaps of faith with our career, our kids, our money, whatever it is, nobody is breaking in. And so we have to think, if Hollywood is something we really want to harness, maybe being crazy is the most sane thing we can do.